Welcome to the Unapologetically Unstoppable podcast. I'm your host, Jeanette Peterson. And on this podcast, we talk about how to partner with the Holy Spirit with your business and how to grow businesses with practical tips and tricks. Get ready. Here we go. Hey girl, hey, welcome to another episode of the Unapologetically Unstoppable podcast. And today, my guest is Kay Hillman. She is a mom of two, wife, two-time CEO. She's the founder of a photography studio in Atlanta, Kay Hillman Photography, and sales and CEO consultant for moms who want to build peaceful and profitable businesses doing the bare minimum. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have time for that. Kay is passionate about teaching service providers and coaches how to create, market, and sell premium offers, all while working less than 20 hours per week. That's my style. Kay focuses on creating a sustainable business model and selling with integrity and authenticity. She believes the stepping into your calling and serving others and providing a deeper transformation through selling is the best way to grow and scale a business, and is on a mission to help moms truly build businesses of impact and time freedom. While she isn't running those two companies, you can find Kay sitting on the floor eating cereal with her sons and dog, or dragging her husband, Tay, along on a Target ride. Hello, let's go. Thank you. Welcome, Kay.
Oh my gosh. First off, your intros are like top tier because literally, I wrote that, but like the way you presented it, and I'm just like, dang, girl, you sound good.
I'm so glad for you to be here. So I just told Kay I'm going to be on her podcast. We just did a podcast swap, but I was like, I think I met you in person maybe. And she was like, what? We did it. Maybe met in person. I definitely saw her in person, which is kind of cool to like see somebody that you've seen in person at a different conference and then get to talk to them and like actually build a relationship with them, not based on like stardom, because she was the speaker and I was not speaking, but like real authenticity and like being friends and like actually getting to know somebody. So that's, first of all, wonderful.
Yeah, that was really cool. We almost thought we had a picture together, which just would have been like mind blowing. But either way, I think that's so cool. Like that's mad cool. Like even if we didn't realize, like God was lining us up to be together 2 years later. Look at that. Look at God. Perfect planning.
We were just talking about how God does things like that too on your podcast. And oh my gosh, God is just like, I just love God, how he does things like that, because you never know. You never know when you're going to see somebody or meet somebody that a couple years later is just going to be like, we're best friends now, obviously.
And period.
So tell me about your business. Moms do business differently. I love that title, first of all, because we have to.
Yes, that's exactly where it came from, actually. So a few years ago, when I first started my business, we were called She's a Creative because at the time I was new to the Atlanta area. I was starting my photography business and I really just wanted to connect with other women local to me. And I didn't realize there were things like, Tuesdays together or like, any of the other little meetup clubs that people have in different states and areas. I didn't realize that there was one near me. So I was like, okay, I don't have friends. I'm just going to make a group and we're going to be friends. So I started this community and it grew crazy fast. Like I just did not expect the growth that happened in that group. And I met so many people, had so many amazing friendships. We were doing in-person meetups. This was pre-COVID. So it was a vibe, right? Like it was a time to be alive. And so we were meeting up in person. We were having a good time. And I got pregnant. I got pregnant really early, actually, into me moving and my husband and I getting married, and we moved up here to Atlanta while I moved up. And so after that, I kind of took a step back and I took a break because obviously with kids, like baby, life be lifing. It's a whole different experience that I just wasn't quite ready for. So I kind of like shut things down with what I was doing over there. We weren't doing any really community events. And then COVID hit and just everything, like my whole world is kind of rocked. So new baby, COVID, and it's just like, what in the world is going on? So literally, what in the world? And so from that point, I rebranded and we becoming CEO because I just was like, okay, I just had a baby. This is like a whole new rebirth experience. If I'm going to come back and really do this thing, I want it to be something new. And I want it to be something that like we could all kind of journey together. So we kind of merged into that. And I started attracting a lot more moms who, we were all having small kids and we were building these businesses. And, at the time, I actually had 3 companies. I had a social media management agency, I had my photography studio, and I was like building this community. Like this community thing really wasn't anything. But people were like, well, how are you getting clients on social media? How are you serving your clients over here? So I was like, okay, I can teach a class or two. So I did this boot camp and once I did this boot camp, it was like I want to say a 12-week boot camp. It was so cheap. It was like $90 or something, like ridiculous for 12 weeks. Like every single week I was showing up. Girl, talk about my back was hurt because I was tired. Okay.
What?
Girl, ridiculous. Facebook memories always humbles you. And every time I see it pop up, I'm just like, girl, woo, you have done it all. I launched the boot camp. It was 12 weeks but it was a lot of fun. Like I realized that, oh man, I'm really good at teaching. And, we can talk about this later, but like, I feel like a common theme in my life has been teaching, like in different capacities I've always taught. And so I realized like, oh, I really enjoy teaching people, how to do like how to build a business. But, I wasn't really taking it serious because I had a agency and then I had my photography studio and they were doing so well that I was like, I don't really want to like build something new. But I was just like doing little things. Like I would, do a course or I would do, a membership. Like I was just doing, little random stuff over there. And then I started working with more clients like in a coaching and consulting capacity. And I would get a lot of moms that would say to me like, you just have helped me figure out how to do this different. Like, I don't have to do what everybody else is saying to do. I just need to figure out what my way is. And so the more they're saying, like, people are saying to me, and I had a podcast, so I, been running my mouth for like years now. And so, I'd already been saying things like, I'm showing you how to do this differently. I'm showing you how to do it your way. And then something clicked one day. I was talking to one of my clients and she was just like, yeah, like you really help moms do business different. And the name was born. Like, it was like the Holy Spirit just like shook me like, there it is. And so last year, I think it was last year, it might have been the year before last, we officially rebranded to Moms Do Business Different. And the whole concept behind this is to really, one, equip moms and equip women with sales skills, help them to know how to actually sell their offers, not just create content, not just, show up and quote unquote be consistent, but to actually know how to articulate your message, articulate your offers, and how to sell it with the utmost confidence, right? Because a lot of us, we'd be a little shy about our offers. So I'll help you to do that with the utmost confidence, as well as figure out how to build the most sustainable, lean, bare minimum business possible so that you can actually make money without having to work a ton of time. So that was the whole journey.
Dude,
Wow.
like just thinking about like, how like sometimes at the beginning of business, you're just like throwing stuff at the wall, trying to figure it out and being like, okay, this works, this didn't work. I'm never doing that again. But that part was fun. And like just trying different things and like not having the outcome be the destination. It's like, what am I learning? How can I figure this out? Like, and like, yes, moms do different business differently. We have to do business differently. We have to do things in a unique way because we're just built different. We're not men. We're supposed to be different.
Yes, we are built different. And you something so key. I feel like people, they kind of like talk down on that season that you're just doing random things. But we have to all go through that season, especially as moms, because there are going to be strategies and techniques and things that people say for us to do. And literally, you don't have the time and the capacity. Like you just literally it's impossible. And I think that that's like a really important season to go through as a mom, because without that, you find yourself doing things that you literally have no business doing. And it doesn't lead to any kind of real objective.
Which is why I love systems. I'm like systems focused, love it. Automate whatever you can because I don't have time to do all those things. I can't. I don't have the capacity to do those things. So I think like, what is one thing that you help them with? Do you help them with systems? Is it something that you talk about? Even if it's not like an automation, like, do you help them systemize how they do work? Tell me about that.
So for me, I always start from the approach of like, let's figure out what the bare minimum is. So for me, the system is figuring out what's the least you have to do. And I mean bare minimum in the nicest way, because I feel like sometimes like bare minimum has gotten this negative connotation, but bare minimum actually means like, I believe like the actual definition is something to the effect of like the smallest unit to reach an objective, right? The smallest unit required to reach an objective. That is so powerful to me. Like, that's not about being lazy or about not doing quality work. It's really about understanding fundamentally your clients, your company, your capacity, and then packaging all that up into something that is actually sustainable for you and where you are in your life, in your business, etc. Right. And so I come from the approach of like, okay, we're going to try all these different things. Like, what lights you up? What makes you most excited? Are you good at video? Are you good at talking? Like, your girl is a talker. Okay. So I'm really like, let me run my mouth anywhere. But some people are better at writing, right? So it's figuring out, okay, what are your gifts? What are you good at? What makes you feel the most comfortable, right? Because if you're comfortable doing it, if you feel confident doing it, it's going to be sustainable long term. So we start there with this like big picture of figuring out, all right, here are these different moving parts that we can try. Now you try things out to figure out, okay, does this strategy lead to clients coming in? Are people inquiring from this strategy? Like, where are the people coming from? Because if you have, I'll just say like 5 clients, you can figure out the common theme of where they came from, right? Like you can figure out, you can ask them, hey, how did you find out about me? Hey, you can look and see, okay, are they on my email list? Are they, listening to my podcast? Did they download this download? Did they come from this collaboration? Right? You can figure out where people came from. Now you double down. Now, instead of doing 10,000 different strategies, you're just doing the ones that you know. All right, from here to here, I'm going to sign this client. Point blank, period. Bare minimum, right? We're cutting out all the extra stuff because, baby, we ain't got time. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't start the YouTube channel. It doesn't mean that you can't have a podcast. It doesn't mean you can't be on TikTok or what. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that when the going gets tough, when life is life, and when the kids are sick, when you get sick, when you're tired, when you're feeling a little bit run down, when you have a heavy client load, now you don't lose momentum in your business because you're like, okay, I know that at the very least, in order for me to maintain my customer journey, in order for me to be visible or to convert leads or whatever, this is all I need to focus on. These 1, 2, 3 simple things, right? That is where I guess you could say the system comes in. It's just figuring out how can we reduce all the stuff into something that's really just like, this is it, right? And it makes you really look at your business like, dang, this could be easy. Like it doesn't have to be hard, and then couple that with actually having sales skills, it becomes a no-brainer. Like making money becomes really simple. And I like to tell people like, you can print money. Like if you want to, you could print money by simplifying what it is that you're doing, right? Instead of doing a bunch of different things, just sit down and figure out, okay, these are the 2 things that I know are generating leads, and then go sell. You can print money. Like, listen, I remember with plenty of clients and we just like, we figure it out. And it's like, girl, you now you have a wait list. Now you have, people on a wait list. Now you're able to, as soon as you drop an offer, it's sold out within a week or 2. I just had a client recently who had a launch, and literally we created a wait list. Well, she did a launch event. You were at it. So we went to the launch event, and from there, she almost doubled her launch goal. Her launch goal was 10. She ended up with 18 people. And it's just like, that is the power of figuring out what is your bare minimum and only doing that. And from there, baby, printing money. And I love it for us. Especially
right?
Like, I love it.
Yes. Like I know her and I love her. Shout out, girl. Hey. Like, I love her so much. And she's just like this, I don't want to say docile, but she's just very like together.
Calm, peaceful.
Yes.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm all about that peaceful energy. Like, yes.
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 And I love her. Yes. So I'm like, and she just rocking it. And she's just like, she told me, she was like, I want to get this many people in the room. And just, because I have a membership and she's part of the membership, and it's about prayer. And she was like, can you just pray for this? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, so how's it going? How's this going? And she's like, dude, it was amazing. And I was just like, so thrilled.
It's so exciting. And it's so exciting to know that, like, as a mom, we have such a unique experience of walking in entrepreneurship. And it's so important to know how to steward all the things well, from your time to how you're running the business to how you're showing up for your family. Because as moms, I don't think any of us are doing this and not thinking about the time that we have to spend with our kids and not valuing the time that we have for our kids. And I think that's the other thing. Like, that was one of the biggest shifts for me when I really started to move forward and speak specifically to moms. I realized our experience is so different. We were just talking about this a little minute ago, but sometimes we get advice from people like, you ain't got no kids, or if you have kids, you're not the one watching them, or, you're single and you're young and a teeny bopper. And nothing wrong with being young and a teeny bopper. It's no offense to that, but it's just you have no real life responsibility. So you have the time and the capacity to spend hours and hours and hours hitting your head against the wall to build the business. I don't have that same time, right? My clients don't have the same time. So now we really have to be intentional about what is bare minimum. Because, baby, I'm going to tell you, most nights I work maybe 2 hours. And that's simply because your girl is tired, okay? I don't woke up all day with these kids running around, doing all the fun things, momming it up, being Betty Crocker in the kitchen. Like, baby, your girl be going, okay? And then now I have the audacity, because I call it audacity. Like, we are audacious women to be building businesses and raising our children. So I have the audacity to listen to God's calling and show up and do the work for a business. I'm editing photos, boxer and clients, doing all these things. It's not a lot of time. So I have to figure out how to steward it well. And so really figuring out how you can just find the most barest, and I mean this in just the nicest way, and I'd be calling it bare minimum, but just figuring out like what's the least you can do to keep the leads coming in the door. Like that is going to be so critical and key, because you have so many other things that you have to be focused on. You have to focus on the delivery and all those other moving parts. So we got to figure out how to like distill this down into, okay, these are like the 1 or 2 tasks that I need to focus on. And then everything else needs to be, okay, now I'm delivering on the promise that I offered or I gave to people when they signed up with me.
I love that, because it's like, it's you saying this is boiled down to the things that I actually need to do to keep the lights on. Everything else is a bonus, but I'm going to do these 3 things, this list really well. And then if I get to the other stuff, I get to the other stuff. But I'm not going to compromise my family, my kids, my husband, my home responsibilities in order to run this business. Although God said that I'm supposed to do this thing, I'm going to do it, but not if it comes to the sacrifice for my family and all those things. Love that.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's so possible. Like, I just really want people to understand it's so possible. Like, there are so many women that, come to me and you're like trying to figure it out. Like, what do we do? It's so possible. Like, even if you think like, man, I'm just doing a lot, I'm overwhelmed, blah, blah, I promise you, you just need to take a minute and sit down. Like, if you do nothing else from listening to this episode, I want you to sit down and pull a list, like write a list of all your favorite, like your best clients or clients that got a result, whatever. Write a list of them, even if it's just 5 people, and figure out where did they come from. Once you figure out where they came from, you can simplify your business, because a lot of us are doing things we have no business doing. We're doing a lot, like it's almost like it's busy work, but it's like, if you're finding, and I know some of the girls hate Instagram. I'm not an Instagram hater, okay? I love Instagram. But I also realized that a lot of my clients weren't coming from Instagram traditionally in the sense of I'm posting. They're coming from my stories. They're coming from me being in the DMs with them. So it shifted how I showed up, right? Sometimes it's just a small, subtle tweak that you need to make to what you're doing, and that is going to get you the result that you're looking for, right? So some of us, you're banging your head against the wall trying to write these posts or create these posts, when really, girl, you just need to be in your story. You just need to be in the DMs, right? You just need to be engaging with other people, right? You need to be telling people, okay, you listen to the podcast, come DM me. Now you're having a sales conversation, right? Again, it all roots back to sales, okay? We got to sell to people. So if you want to make money, you have to sell. So figuring out what's that process to get them there. But it's so possible. Like, I really want people to just feel encouraged in the fact that like, you can do this. You just have to figure out, you have to kind of cut out some of the noise. So there's going to be people telling you to do this, that, the third. You have to kind of cut that out and really listen to the strategy that's already been working for you. God has already revealed a plan to you. You just don't recognize what the play is because you're trying to do too many things. Zoom in, hone in on what's working for you currently, and everything else will start to make sense.
Girl, yes, 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 yes. Like, I'm a big proponent of do what God is telling you to do, because every strategy can work, but there's only one strategy for you, and God is showing you your strategy. So I love that you're like, no, just cut the noise, because that's so key. Like, seriously, that's the key to life. Like, really, like just cutting out the noise of all the BS. Block that person, unfollow that person. It's going to be okay. Nobody's going to know and nobody's going to care. They're not going to miss one follower. I promise you. If you get triggered by that person and they're no longer serving you in a positive way, cut them out, period. I love that. I love that.
And that's so good that you said that, because I literally just recorded a training for swap that I'm doing with somebody. And I mentioned like all the strategies work, but there's only, and you said it so good, there's only one strategy that works for you. And that is so key, because the thing that I try to get people to really understand is like, okay, yes, maybe I don't do funnels, but that doesn't mean a funnel won't work for your business, right? Like it might work for your business. You have to figure out what is actually working for you. And I feel like once people like let go of just what you see everybody else doing and really focus on, okay, what did God call me to do in this season? What is God calling me to do with this business? Like, yeah, and you said this on my podcast. So I just did a podcast interview where I interviewed you, and you said it so well, where you were just like, tap into a Holy Spirit strategy. Tap into like read your Bible. Figure out like take that 1 week break and figure out what God told you to do. And once you do that, things will start to make sense. You will have so much peace. Like I have this concept that I call being peaceful and profitable, like having peace and profit in your business. And it's so true because like I have a peace that surpasses all understanding. I hate to be like, that person, but like I really do, knowing that I can do the very least and still build a profitable business. I have plenty of clients. I have industry friends who we're just taking a completely different approach where it's like, listen, I know that everybody is trying to, tell you gotta have a blog or do this or do that. I get it. If that works for them, great, congratulations. But guess what? I'm not going to change my trajectory based off of what somebody else is doing because God called them to that, not me. I need to mind my business, right? And that's the thing. Like we have to gain that confidence from the Lord himself to be like, okay, this is what he called me to. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to focus on this lane and really zoom in. And like you said, it's okay to mute people. It's okay to unfollow someone. I promise you, they don't notice. People really don't know. I mean, maybe if you only have 10 followers, they might notice, but like most people don't even notice when someone unfollows them. So it's really not that deep. Like it just is not. It's so much better to be obedient.
That's one of my favorite scriptures, by the way. You should mind your own business and work with your hands. First Thessalonians. Let's go. Mind your business.
Come on now. Come
Keep it
on now.
moving. I was like, that's a scripture? Yes, I love that.
I gotta add that to my list of faves because I mean I knew it was a scripture, but I need to add that to my faves.
Yes, love it. Okay, so you were talking about God's strategy, being with God. Would you say that you are God-centered or your business is God-centered, or because you're God-centered, your business is also God-centered, a combination?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that it would probably be the last one you said. Because I'm God-centered, the business just happens to also be God-centered. I don't overly, lately I have, but I don't overly like, put God this, God that on things, but it is part of me. And so it's going to come out of me. And so I feel like, yeah, I'm God-centered. So, and I would consider both of my companies to be faith-based companies. But with my photography business, it's actually not as overt. Like you would see it if you like read my about page or whatever, like you would kind of see it there. When I meet my clients and talk to them, they're like, okay, this girl loves Jesus. Like we get it. But otherwise, like you wouldn't necessarily know from the content there. And then with Moms Do Business Different, I would say that it's a lot more apparent and I do connect a lot more with Christian women. So that's been really fun. But yeah, I think that the most important thing for me is that I'm God-centered because everything's going to pour from that. So if you get a sprinkle of Jesus, you get a sprinkle of Jesus, and we're going to just let it be what it is. And if you don't like it, that's okay. But honestly, I've worked with a lot of clients who they aren't faith-based, like they're not Christians or anything, and they enjoy being in the community. And I think that that's just a testament of, God might use you. Like you never know how God's going to use you. But also, I think that most people really don't even care. Like they're not faith, they don't care. Like if they can see your heart posture and if they can see like, oh, well, it's not like she's trying to like dupe me into anything or force me to, be a believer or whatever. They're not really pressed about it. And so I think I enjoy being kind of that lens or like kind of standing on that principle of like, I'm faith, I'm God-centered, I'm Christ-centered, but like, you're all welcome here. It's fine.
I love that. Being like, yeah, I'm going to pour Jesus out on you. And if you don't want it, that's fine. But I'm just going to keep pouring my Jesus.
No big deal.
And the heart posture, that's a huge thing because some people come from a Christian background with a horrible heart posture. But as long as you're having that positive heart posture and people can feel that, they're like, okay, I like this. Even though I don't believe in Jesus like she does, I appreciate her. You know what I mean?
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
So what ways has God shown up supernaturally, maybe in your life or your business or both? I love hearing like supernatural stories about God because he's just amazing.
I feel like there are so many stories, but I feel like one of the biggest ones for me is, well, the first one is how I got into med school. So I got into medical school. Yeah, girl. I didn't finish, but I got in. And I feel like that was such a supernatural experience because I couldn't afford it. So I was accepted, but I couldn't afford it. And the way God showed up, and literally I had one donor that paid my entire bill. And the bill was like, I want to say maybe $25,000, like And just one person donated. I did a GoFundMe because of my husband's mom. She is such a godsend, oh my gosh, I hit the jackpot. But she was like, you should do one of those Fund Me Goes. Like, she didn't know what it was called. So I was like, a GoFundMe
I love
mom?
that.
Girl, that really tripping. But I was like, oh, a GoFundMe. And then, I was kind of like embarrassed because I was like, I don't want to have to like, ask people for money, whatever, whatever. But she was just like, you should just do it. If God has allowed you to be accepted, there's no reason why he's not going to provide what you need to actually go. So I created this GoFundMe account or whatever. And literally it was up for not even a week. And I had some donations coming in for like friends and family, but literally an anonymous donor dropped $25,000 in, like paid the whole thing. And it was just like, I was like bawling, crying because I'm just like, wow, God provided. And like the day they put the donation in, the next day I had to pay or I lose my spot. So it's like literally in the ninth hour, yes, God just like came through for the win. And here I had this donation and I had extra. So like, I paid the 25,000 and then I think I had like maybe about $4,000 or $5,000 to go to medical school. So I went to medical school out of the country. My mom's side of the family is from Haiti. And so I ended up going to a school in Grenada because I was like, oh, I kind of want to like experience like my mom's culture, whatever. And there's a lot of Haitian people that are in Grenada, even though they're their own island. So anyway, I go there and I have this like $4,000 or $5,000, whatever. And that's all the money I had. Cause like, obviously, I couldn't afford to even go in the first place. And then I wasn't working or anything. So I had like $4,000 to last me for the entire semester and to get a plane ride to come back home. So girl, I was like cutting it thin by the wire, but God is so good because literally the way my faith changed being on the island was just it like that is supernatural. Like that was beyond understanding. Like literally every morning I'm waking up and I'm like spending an hour with God before I even go to class, before I even, do my studies, anything. I'm waking up early. I'm like going out on the balcony. I'm by the water, which I love the water. And so I was by the water and I would just like seek God, see God's face, see God's face. But I was distraught because I was by myself. I was engaged, but I was by myself. I was just like, I felt kind of isolated, even though I found like kind of a church family. And so during this time, God just kept sending people to me to like pour into me. So one happened when I was at the grocery store and I didn't have enough money because I was like budgeting to make sure I had enough money to last me the whole time. And I got to the register and she told me the total and I knew I could not afford it. Like as I started creeping up, I started to like try to pull stuff off because I was like, I can't afford all this. There was a nun and a priest that had just checked out in front of me. And he turned around and he was like, I'm going to pay for this. And he was like, put it back on the cart. I'm going to pay for this. So I'm bawling in the grocery store. He pays for it. And while he's paying for it and I'm crying, the nun comes over and she grabs my hand. Now, I have a Catholic background. So she comes over to me and she's like, Jesus is looking out for you. And I just got so many chills. I'm like, now I'm ugly crying. Okay. I am ugly crying.
Girl.
She's like, Jesus is looking out for you. And then she's like, he's telling you to do something, whatever he tells you, go do it. And I just like, I'm done, right? Because I'm just like, I didn't have enough money for groceries. I'm like, I'm just like, this is a whole hot mess. And she's like, do you want us to walk you home? Whatever like that. It was only like 1 block, so they walked me home. And he's just like, they're just like pouring into me like all these affirmations and just like, God loves you, all this kind of stuff. And so, I'm just a hot mess. So I go back. So from that point on, for maybe like 3 months, I'm like in the bathroom every day crying. Like I'm just crying out to God on the girl. Like I was just med school was just so hard for me. Like school wasn't hard. It was just like God was moving. Like God was moving and he needed me to not be influenced by certain things. So he wanted to be just with me, with a church family that he set me up with because I was set up with a church family there. And that was it. So he really wanted to just spiritually like have a hold of me. So every day I'm in this bathroom, I'm crying. I'm crying because like my roommate, she had a class. And so I had 1 hour to cry. So literally every day I had my 1 hour cry session in the bathroom with God, like, okay, I'm just crying. And so finally I leave and I decide like, okay, I'm not going to come back to med school. But the experience was just so supernatural and it really set the tone for how I showed up from that moment forward in my walk with God and really just like helped me be like, okay, if God could carry me for dang near 6 months on $4,000, what else can he do? You know what I'm saying? And from there, it just like, things happen and God just like redirected things and moved me around. But I feel like those were like the biggest moments that like when I think about a defining moment in my walk with God, like that was it. I will always remember fondly that season, but also remember how just like purifying and how just mentally exhausting and like, girl, I was tired. I came back so skinny. Like, I mean, I look good, but girl, woo, it was a trying season.
I love that story because I feel like we all have to go through that purifying season, like away from everybody, away from everything. Like I told you my story of like moving across the country. I feel like God was using that season of my life to do the same thing of just like, you need to be away from anybody that's going to influence you in a way that I don't have for you. I need you to be set up with these church people, and I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show you I exist.
Yes.
You might know, but I'm gonna show you.
Yes.
And I love that. That is so powerful to have like that kind of experience, because it's like, it's no longer the God of my father. It's my God. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, girl. Come on. That's the truth there. And, and that's what I needed to be separated for, because I kind of grew up in and out of church a bit, but like, I didn't have like a true relationship with God like myself. It wasn't until that moment that I gained that relationship. And then from there, I was able to navigate things that I experienced afterwards. Like there was just like big falling outs with family. It was just a lot of like traumatic things that I experienced afterwards that were rooted in my childhood experiences that I didn't like. I wouldn't have been equipped. I would have responded so terribly when those things happen. I'm just like, you know what? In hindsight, like, thanks God. Like, it was, 4 to 6 months of crime, but like, it was worth it, because now where I am today, it's like, I have that peace. Like, I just have that peace to know that like, okay, this sucks. This is not working. Something's happening or whatever, but like, I know I have God on my side. So regardless of what's going on, I know that even if I don't understand the plan, I don't have to. He got it. You know what I'm saying? I just gotta show up, and I gotta be obedient, and I just let it be what it's gonna be. Like that none telling me just to be obedient to what he said, to what he's called me to, like that really just shifted how I navigate life today. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that season.
Sometimes it's hard though to be obedient, to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing that God said. Doesn't make sense, but I'm gonna do this thing. It does suck, right? God told me like, I don't want to do this, God. I'm going to keep doing it, but this sucks. I hate this. And like, I think that the more you understand God, the more you walk with God, the more you see those seasons approaching, and you're like, this is going to be a hard season, but I know that God is going to show up and he's going to be with me and he's not going to forsake me. But I know that I'm going to be like pruned. I know that I'm going to be cut a little bit. I know this is going to be deep, but still going through it is powerful also. I'm being like, all right, here we go.
And I think just the last piece with what you just said there, sometimes I have to like, I'm reminded a lot of that season in med school, because Grenada is a third world country. So I was exposed to a lot of things that I would have never seen as an American, you know what I'm saying? Like as someone that lives here. And so, in med school, there's a common phrase, it's a common phrase of like, you're experiencing a first world problem. Like you're experiencing like a first world crisis right now. Like your identity and reconciling it with being in a third world country, it's just like you're at odds a lot. And so something else that has helped me like in this season is looking back at that season and being like, you know what? I've seen some really crazy things, like people walk around with machetes, like it's like, like there's a lot of stuff over there that's just like a little bit crazy. And so I'm always reminded of that season, and it's so crazy because in hindsight, I realized I had no fear. No fear walking by men with machetes. Like no fear. Like I didn't it never even crossed my mind to be I never like moved to the other side of the street. I was never afraid. And so like I'm constantly reminded, like, you know what, there's so much persecution that still happens. There's so many things that go on today that, my trial by fire that I might be experiencing right now in the grand scheme of things. And I hate to be that person, but like it could be worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I remember that for myself, but also I just try to remind myself, like, this is my refining process. It's not going to look like somebody else's. This is just what I'm going through in this season, but it's for a purpose. Like we're not going through these preparation seasons or these trial seasons for no reason. It's going to show up in another way where you're going to be able to use the skills and the things that you experienced here into something else. And it's just so happened that for me, I was able to use it in my business, or I've been able to use it in like my home life. And that's been just a really beautiful thing to see, like how this experience was able to shape me for future experiences that I was going to have, and like refining my gifts and stuff like that. So it's been really interesting, really interesting.
I love that. I love that so much. God does use a lot of things to show us things, but we'll have to pull on later on.
Yes.
So Would you say that was your biggest struggle to getting where you are now, or do you have another one?
I think that was the biggest struggle. I think that was the foundational struggle that like set me up for all the other struggles.
I feel that.
It was the big thing. And then like, there were other big things that happened. Like, for example, my childhood abuser, like he was put in jail. So yeah, girl, that was a whole situation. But like, I feel like if I didn't have the med school season, I wouldn't have been able to navigate that season of just like finding my truth, really being able to just stand up and say like, yes, this is what I experienced. This was hard. You know what I'm saying? And this was someone that abused me my entire childhood. So from the age of about 4 to, I mean, even like up until I got into med school. Like med school, sometimes I think about med school as like an exodus for me. Like that was my escape. That's when I left. That's when I was able to get out and really not be under the thumb of a lot of the abuse that I experienced in my childhood. And it's something that, I didn't realize that my sisters experienced. So there were just all these different things. But, even though like that was a hard season, I will always say it wasn't as hard as the med school season, because the med school season for me was really a season of like, I had to confront what my own self was. And I had to confront the fact that like, I didn't have a relationship with God. So I had nothing to lean on when I was struggling. And then I figured it out, right? So then when I went through this season of, okay, now this abuser is in jail and all this kind of stuff, like I was able to really approach it from like, okay, I have peace because I know that I've been honest. I know that I've done well. I know that I have, shown up in the authority that I've been given by God. And then from there was like a struggling season with having kids, because, having kids can be a little bit rough. And there was COVID and I was by myself and it was a lot. Like, well, my husband, obviously, but like, it was just the two of us. And so that was like another challenging season. But even with that, I look back and I'm like, med school is too hard, or like not med school itself, but obviously like that season that I was in. And so when you ask, like, is there anything else? It's like, I think that's like the foundation. I think that a lot of times for us, there's always that one big defining moment. And even like when you read scripture, like there's like usually one big defining moment for the person in terms of like a preparation season. And then they go through all these other obstacles and you're like, oh, wow, like that really worked out just because of this one thing that they experienced. And I feel like that's the thing for me. Like there's been other things that I've experienced, but nothing can compare to God really consecrating you, like really giving you that season where he can consecrate you and where he can just like be all there with you, so that when you go through those other trials, it becomes like I almost think about like when Shadrach and them were in the fire. It's like they had already been through so much before then. What was a little fire? Like, like what was
They're like, bring it on, whatever, let's go.
No big deal. Daniel and Lion said, like, who cares? Like he had already been through so much that it's like by that point, yes, that's monumental, but also it's like not really when you know how big your God is. So
yeah. I was just thinking about Joseph, like when he went in, like he was buried underground by his brothers, and then he went to jail and he was like, whatever, jail was fine.
Okay, this is small in comparison. Like I know who my God is. I know where God is taking me. I know where God is building me. And so I always call that moment a low moment, because everything from there, even if it was a quote unquote low moment, in comparison, it's like I had the tools. You know what I'm saying? Like I think sometimes we find ourselves in a pit and it's like, it's because you don't have the tools. But once you realize God gave you gifts, and then he's standing behind you with that army of angels and all that, at that point, it's like everything else that I experienced, okay. And like, does it suck sometimes? Yes, 100%. Is it hard sometimes? Like, have I struggled with, I had postpartum anxiety. So there were like different things that, yes, those things are very hard and very challenging. But I was also able to get through those things because I knew that there was something that I could lean back on. And this is not to be like, oh, give it, like God, like just like blanketing over things. It's literally like when you go through it, you'll know how it feels. I don't know how to explain it with words, but like it really does feel like, you know what? Yes, this is hard. This is challenging. It sucks. Like there's plenty of stuff that just sucks, plain sucks. But at the end of the day, it's like, I also know where my help comes from. I also know that like at the end of this, like there is a end, and the end is in my favor. Even if it's not here on earth, even if like even if like I don't feel like something has been fully resolved here, I already have a portion in heaven. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about all this. This little stuff. This is little. This is little stuff. I also recognize that like I'm not fighting things just in the natural. There's all things that are happening in the spirit. When you read your word, you said this before, you said it best. Stay in your Bible. When you stay in your Bible, when you know the word, when you know God's word, when you have that relationship with him, everything else starts to make sense. Like it just does. And you seem crazy. You seem like, oh my gosh, like this girl is like crazy. But like when you know, you know.
Like I would see those girls at church or at school and I'd be like, who are those Bible nerds. What is wrong with them?
Girl, such a nerd, Bible thumpers. And now look at me, a Bible thumper.
Right? I'm like, yes, I love Jesus. I
Okay.
bought the Strong's Concordance. That's how big of a nerd I am. I'm like hardcore Bible nerd. Like,
Girl, I'm building out my little library of all my little Bible resources and stuff. I bought a Bible dictionary, the concordance, girl. I'm like working on all these commentaries. I'm just like, I want to be so enmeshed in his word and understanding and just be like, you know what? Yes, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be struggles that happen, but guess what? I am equipped for this battle. God doesn't put me like I know for myself. I can't speak for nobody else, but for myself, I realize now, especially after that med school situation, I realize now that everything that I've experienced has been because he was preparing me for where I am today. Every single thing, even the most traumatic stuff, even being, beat and abused and just all these different things I went through as a child, right? Even as a child, which, we're supposed to be innocent, right? We're supposed to be innocent as children. But even through all that, I know that all that led me to where I am today, right? And where I am today is exactly what God created me for and called me to be. And I have to stay anchored and rooted in his word because it is easy to fall into despair and be like, well, why did my mom have to, die, right? My mom died when I was very young. So why did I have to experience this? Yeah, girl. I know med school doesn't sound like deep when I say all these other stuff, but like med school really is very deep for me. But like, why did my mom have to die? Like when I think about all these different experiences, why did certain things happen in my childhood? Why was I abused? Why did I experience it? When you think about all that, it's just like, even though it sounds bad, even though it is hard, and it is hard, and it is bad, right? I also recognize that like, he created me for this though. He created me for this time. He created me. I went through all that, a loss of a mom, a loss of all these different things because God wanted me to pour into moms as an adult when I became a mom. So it's like, yeah, maybe I didn't see it at first, but I see it now. There's a lot of us moms out here that are motherless. You know what I'm saying? We're trying our best to be a good mom, but we're triggered by our childhood. We're triggered by our experiences. We've gone through things. God created me because I've been through it too, and I get it. And that's why now when we're trying to build this business, when we're trying to create some kind of security for our kids, I get the heart center behind that. I get why you have this desire to create something for yourself because maybe you grew up and you were in lack. Maybe you grew up and you couldn't trust, or you saw a break of trust when it came to finances, right? That's something I experienced where it's like my father controlled all the finances. So my mom was in a very hard spot. I have a heart for those kind of women because I work with them today. And it's like, everything you experience is for the reason that you were called and created to be. You just have to allow God to use you in that capacity. But girl, let me stop because I could be going for 25 years.
girl, that was like a whole sermon right there, though. That is so true. Like people are like, woe is me, but at the same time, God can use me to help other people. God has only been on earth as one person, Jesus Christ, and now he lives inside of us in the Holy Spirit, and I get to be part of him and help his kingdom. And if I have to go through some of these things, thank God I did not die on the cross and I'm still alive, but I had to go through some hard things to be able to help his kingdom. I'm here for it. Like,
when you think about how good God is, that he sacrificed his only son, and you think about that, you like, he did this for people he did this for me. Don't even know me from, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and when I say know me, like, I mean, like, I wouldn't do that for a stranger. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you think about that, it's just like, wow, yes, I've been through hard things. Yes, these things were terrible. A child shouldn't have to experience these things. Okay, you become an adult and you experience other stuff. And it's like, yes, you shouldn't experience anything. But when you think about that, when you think about God's goodness, it really changes your perspective around the things that you experience. And it really allows you to see, you know what I'm doing, it's part of the bigger plan. It's part of like, yes, these things were hard. These things aren't fun. But it's like when you think about the bigger plan, or when you think about the role you play, it's like, thank you, God. Like, thanks for giving me a role. You know what I'm saying? Even if some of the parts of the role wasn't really my favorite, these parts weren't my favorite. It's just like, thank you for the role. Like, thank you for the part that I get to play. And now I'm able to reflect back on that and be like, you know what? Oh, hey, God, I get it. Did I want to? No. But I mean, like, even Jesus says in the Bible, he didn't want to have to do it, but he knew that was what he was called to do. So it's like, you will be okay. Like, I tell myself this all the time, like, you're okay, girl. Like, you're okay because God is on your side. Like, you're okay. And you're going to continue to be okay. And I know sometimes it's hard to hear, or, it's hard to think when you're in the middle of it, because like, postpartum, I was like, girl, you are not okay. But I had to remind myself, like, no, you're okay. Like, you are okay. Even if it feels a little rocky, you're still okay, right? Like, you're still, enveloped or an envelope into God, right? You're still in the family. You're still in the fold. But man, when you said that, I was just like, oh my gosh, that like really brought me to emotion because like it could be so challenging sometimes when you think about the journey, but you have to remember, and I keep reminding myself, I always remind myself, like, what does God call you to, right? Like there are gonna be some things that God calls you to that maybe don't feel the most fun, or like it might be a little challenging, but like He's called you for a reason. He's using you for a reason. And if you allow that to happen, you will, even though it sucks, like there's still like a baseline of peace that I have about like, okay, I know I'm not doing it by myself though. Like I know that the provision is there. Like everything's going to work out the way it needs to work out.
And I think that's what makes business easier too, though. Like being like, I am just being obedient. I'm just going to walk with what God said. I don't have to worry about the outcome. The outcome is on Him. My job is to be obedient. And I just keep walking and doing the things that He said. And honestly, like I never really thought about like being able to be a part of the bigger story. I just know but like in that context of what if something I say, something I do leads people to Christ and changes their entire trajectory or their family's trajectory. Like you have no idea the impact you can have like just by being obedient to what God is asking you to do.
I mean, what if you are the nun and the priest of the grocery store? Like,
right.
Like, what if you are that person for someone's life? Like, I don't know their names. I probably wouldn't know their face if I saw them tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just the fact that they allow God to use them. Like, and in our businesses, especially now, we're like online, like people can see us everywhere. It's like, you never know one thing that you could say that could like literally be the change for them, like be the thing that changes their life for God. You know what I'm saying? For
Yes.
God, being His mouthpiece.
So we talked about your struggles, how God has shown up. What makes you unstoppable, and what's your favorite Bible verse?
Okay, what makes me unstoppable? God. Okay, no, for real though.
Right?
I mean, for real. But I feel like what makes me unstoppable is that I have really leaned into, oh my gosh, my dog. But I've really leaned into my gifts. I have several, like I've done the spiritual gifts test. And I think that was like one of the questions you asked too, but I've done it. And so my top 3 gifts are exhortation, so encouraging, and well, I know the top 2, exhortation and then discernment. And so I feel like those are also like my superpowers, or like, what makes me unique and just stand out, because in using those, I found myself in rooms and spaces and just talking to people and encouraging people and connecting with people that I wouldn't have otherwise. A lot of people don't realize this or believe me when I say that I'm an introvert, but I'm a super introvert. Yeah, right. Like, I get it. Like I get, and like people are like, oh, I think you're an ambivert. And I'm like, no, I'm an introvert. Like but I know how to be social. Like that's the difference. I know how to be social, but I'm an introvert. Like I would much rather stay at home and just be with my stuff. That's it. Or, when I do engage with other people, like I'm very like life of the party, but then like when I retreat, I'm done. Like this is it. This is all you get out of me. So, but that's kind of my personality. But like because of my gifts of being like encouraging, or like just being able to like discern, like, and discernment, like I feel like sometimes people define it incorrectly, but discernment, there's so many pieces, there's so many layers to it. It's not just discerning like maybe like what people see or whatever. It's like also understanding like what kind of spirit you're coming into contact with, right? So does this person have the spirit of rejection on them? Do they have a spirit of maybe gluttony? Like even it could be anything, right? But like I have that where I'm able to see those things. And so I feel like those are kind of a superpower, because like now that I've applied it to like the business realm, it's something that I've always done in my life and I didn't really know what it was, but then applying it to business, it makes it to where like I have like the most beautiful relationships with my clients, because they're being encouraged, but they're also able to like trust that like I see you, like I see you for who you are, but I also see who God wants you to be. So when we're having a conversation, it's like, it's just completely different. So I really enjoy that. I feel like those are like kind of like my standout powers. And then the other question was, what was the other question? I forgot.
What's your favorite Bible verse and why?
Oh, yes. Okay. My favorite Bible verse is Matthew 6, I believe 34. And it says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And I really love that. I've lived that verse for like, I was a kid when I first found out about this verse. And I feel like that was a verse that I always leaned on, because I always questioned for myself if tomorrow was going to happen for me. And so, yeah. And so when I would have this thought of like, am I going to make it to tomorrow? Because my mom died when I was young. So in my mind, death was always like a prevalent thing on my mind of like, oh, someone could die tomorrow. And I lost a lot of family members like young, like a lot of people died when I was young. And so that was always a thought in my mind. And I was always anxious about that. Even when I was pregnant, I leaned on that verse a lot while I was pregnant because my mom died pregnant. So it was very scary for me to be pregnant because I'm like, it could happen, it could happen, it could happen. And so, that verse has really kind of just carried me because I realized, like, you know what? I don't need to worry about tomorrow. Like tomorrow will have its troubles. You know what I'm saying? Like it will have its troubles. I just need to focus on the now. I need to focus on what God's calling me to do right now and be present in this moment. And so that verse really allows me to just kind of snap back to reality and just focus on what's happening now. Like focus on what's in front of me. And so this is like a slight side note, but have you ever heard people be like, oh, I love the baby phase, or I love this phase, I love that phase, right?
Yeah.
Or people, just wait until this happens. I don't subscribe to any of that. I exhaust every single day, every single moment with the kids. And so I don't miss the baby phase because I feel like I experienced it to its fullest. And same with right now, we're in that toddler mode. And like, even though toddlers are like, what is going on here? Like these are like dinosaurs or something, I don't know. But even though like, it can be crazy sometimes, like I feel like I exhaust every single moment, every single minute. And so I'm at peace. When they start going to school, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be sad that we're out of the toddler phase or out of the baby phase. I throw away clothes and like all their old stuff so fast. I'm just like, we're finished with this phase. Like I really treat each day as its own day. Tomorrow will have its troubles and that's fine. So that's my favorite verse. Kind of went deep, but yeah.
No, I love that. I am super deep because like you, I'm an introvert. Let's just get to the brass tacks. I don't want to talk about how the weather is. That's great, but like let's really talk. Like
yes.
That is a great verse though. Like I don't think I know that verse about like don't worry about tomorrow, because that's so good, because we do. Where I was like, what if this happens? What if tomorrow's gonna do this, blah, blah, blah. And we get too wrapped up and too busy in our own head when it's just like, just enjoy the moment. Just be present today. Just fully be here. And I love that you do that with your kids and you're like, I don't miss any of those because I was fully present, and I'm fully present, and I'm going to accept and appreciate every single day that I do get, and not worry about the what ifs, the yesterdays and the tomorrows.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. That verse has really been, I feel like God like wrote that just for me. I know it was for everybody, but like, I think that one was just for Kay when she, gets on earth. For you, baby.
I love that. Also, when you were talking about like you being able to see spirits on people, I think you said it a different way, but like being able to see their spirit deeply and see who they are, like from a core. I just want to reflect back to you that you've got a big calling on you. You've got a big thing happening in your life that you're not going anywhere anytime soon because you've got an appointment, girl. Like, I just want to reflect that back. You're not going anywhere.
Don't make me cry, but I receive it.
So how can they find you? How can people... No, I don't cry, girl. These lashes gonna fall off. I can't cry. So how can people connect with you? How can people meet you, know you deeply? I see you on Threads, girl. I see you on Threads. I don't be over there, but...
Listen, I be kikiing all over the internet. So I know that I said find your lane, but listen, part of being bare minimum is like doing your thing, right? So I be doing my thing. So you can kiki with me either on Instagram or on Threads. I do love me some Threads. Both of them is at Moms Do Business Different. And then I also have a podcast called Moms Do Business Different as well, which I just interviewed our girl Jeanette over there too. So you can come and listen to her episode over there. But yeah, I talk at least once a week. Sometimes I do twice a week episodes over there. But yeah, we just have a lot of fun. I have an email newsletter, which I'll also like kind of link with you. But I have an email newsletter called Dear Mama CEO. And it's more so about me just having like these really transparent, cathartic conversations. Like some of the stuff we talked about here on the episode, I'm like, oh, I should write an email on this, because I feel like it's just really nice to just have like more honest, in-depth conversations about things that maybe we don't realize affects our business or like our journey, but it actually plays a huge role and a huge impact. And so that's just having like these really like in-depth behind the scene conversations that you might not see everywhere else.
I love that. Being transparent is like the key to life.
Yes.
Well, Miss Kay, thank you so much for this. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. And y'all make sure you come listen to her episode on my podcast as well.
Yes, Moms Do Business Differently.
Yes, we love it.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Go ahead and leave a review to let everybody else know how much this episode has impacted you. And you know what? I would love to get to know you even better. So go ahead and send me a DM over on Instagram at Jeanette.Peterson or come to my free group at JeanettePeterson.com/group. I'll see you guys over there.